Good evening and welcome. If you haven't found your seats yet, please make your way over. We're going to get started in a minute. I'm Lynn MacDonald. I'm the director of this year's Winter Institute and a professor in the economics department here at St. Cloud State University. Thank you all for braving the weather and being with us here tonight, and thank you all who are joining us virtually as well. We're very excited to have you here for the first night of our sesquicentennial kickoff to the Winter Institute. So thank you for coming out tonight. I want to thank our sponsors who have made tonight possible. I know many of you are in this room, so thank you for that. And thank you for coming. I'm very excited to say that we have a special guest here tonight, many, of course, but one special guest who's here is Professor George Borjas. I don't know. I lost him. He's somewhere around. Okay. So maybe you can find him, hear a little bit more about immigration economics from him. And of course, he'll be bright and early tomorrow morning to talk with everyone a little bit more about immigration economics and immigration policy. I guess before I take too long, I want to welcome up to the stage President Robin Wacker. So she's going to say a few words to everybody. So thank you.
I know. That's great music, isn't it? Love it. I know. Well, good evening. I think we're into evening, aren't we? It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to the 2019 Winter Institute and to kick off this signature event for St. Cloud State's sesquicentennial year. Yeah, sure, that's right. Go Huskies, that's right. This is a great crowd. Let's just stay here, right? We'll just stay here and, yeah. If we may have to, that's right. We'll make it a good time. So yes, I wanted to say, thankfully we survived the dreaded deep freeze of last week, and now I see we have moved on to a more normal Minnesota winter, so I'm grateful for that.
Somebody from Florida.
That's right. You know, I really, in looking back on my first 7 months here, I really have been grateful for the opportunity to take my place among St. Cloud State leaders who have made our hometown university a force for positive change and a place where students can prepare for a life of purpose. From that September day in 1869, when the third state normal school opened its doors to 68 students, until now, St. Cloud State has been an institution adapting and responding to a changing world around us. Throughout our campus history, first as that normal school and evolving into St. Cloud State University in 1975, our campus has prepared graduates who contribute to economic prosperity and success of their communities and equip them to live in an increasingly interconnected world. Throughout our 150th anniversary year, we are celebrating the university's heritage and traditions, as well as renewing our commitment to providing continuing service to our students and the people of our community, our state, and indeed our world. The Winter Institute is a particularly bright star among St. Cloud State's many fine traditions. For 57 years, this premier annual event has been offering compelling programs for a diverse audience of students, faculty, staff, business leaders, and members of the community. This year, our economics department, School of Public Affairs, and Center for Economic Education have planned Winter Institute programs around the important issue of immigration, attracting presenters who are uniquely qualified to help us explore the economic and social impact of immigration. I am proud and delighted that both of our speakers this evening are St. Cloud State alumni, Mynul and James Bullard. These two graduates are making significant contributions to the economic landscape of our region. They indeed join a long list of distinguished and influential presenters who have helped make the Winter Institute a rich tradition on our campus, including former Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke and Nobel Prize laureates such as James Heckman and the late Milton Friedman. I also invite you to join us again tomorrow morning for another fine line of speakers. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize our sesquicentennial founding sponsors. We appreciate your support very much. Chartwells, Granite Equity Partners, Desuric, Geocom, and Microbiologics. Thank you for your continuing partnership, and we look forward to many more opportunities to partner in the future. And now I am pleased to welcome an outstanding student, a senior economics major, Allie Biley, to the stage, who will be serving as tonight's MC. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this year's Winter Institute. My name is Allie Biley, and I'm an economics major at St. Cloud State, and I will be the MC for the evening. I just have a couple of quick announcements before we get our first speaker going. First, I want to thank the sponsors for making tonight's event possible. The logos are advertised throughout the room, so you can thank them for tonight's events being possible. The next thing I want to announce is that unfortunately, due to severe weather, Mynul will be joining us virtually, just so everyone is aware of that. All right, now that we have that taken care of, I'm very excited to introduce you all to our first speaker of the evening. He's a 2004 St. Cloud State graduate in computer science, Mynul Khan. Khan is the founder and CEO of Field Nation, described as an online work marketplace for connecting people to get work done. Khan's online platform matches contract IT and other freelancers with corporate clients to complete online work orders. Khan developed Field Nation out of an assignment to create a tool to assist in managing IT outsourcing, along with his realization that there was a need to connect independent workers with companies. Field Nation has experienced amazing success since its launch in 2008. In 2018, the Minneapolis-based company completed nearly 1 million work orders. They have also received outside recognition as well. The Minnesota High Tech Association named Field Nation one of 15 companies and organizations committed to advancements in technology, and the Minneapolis Star Tribune named Khan as one of 10 Minnesota business leaders to watch in 2015. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mynul Khan.
Hello, everybody. Well, Allie, thanks for the introduction. I am so disappointed that I couldn't be with you tonight. I was really, really looking forward to it. But at the last minute, I had to change the plan because of the weather. As Lynn mentioned, I couldn't brave the weather. So I'm really disappointed. But regardless, I'm really excited to be with you via video conference today. As Allie mentioned, I graduated about 14 years ago from St. Cloud State. And so tonight I thought I would take you a little bit of my personal journey to St. Cloud State, talk a little bit about the gig economy, and tell you a little bit about the Field Nation story, how it got started and how it's really taking advantage of this economic change that's happening, which we call the gig economy. So that's the agenda for tonight, and towards the end we'll have some time for Q&A as well. So hopefully you can see my screen here. So let me start with my journey to St. Cloud. I am from a very, very different place, and I'm originally from a country called Bangladesh, and it's completely opposite side of the world. It's about 12 hours difference time-wise, so it'll be probably 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 5 in the evening here, so it's 5 in the morning over there. And the country, Bangladesh, is about size of Wisconsin and has about half the population of US. So it's pretty crowded, pretty cozy. You can say it's very cozy. And but when I first came here in Minnesota, I fell in love with the vastness of the Midwest. And more interestingly, before coming to Minnesota, I actually never saw snow in my life. And as you see the screen right now in Bangladesh, it'll be probably somewhere around 80 degrees. And in Minnesota, we are braving the snow and the winter storm, and probably not negative 7 degree yet, but it's going to drop down to zero tonight. So very different weather, very different culture-wise, geographically very different. Population is different, language is different, everything is different. So what brought me to St. Cloud? Truth be told, I actually never heard about Minnesota or St. Cloud as I was growing up. As you can imagine, 16, 17, 18-year-old from the other part of the world, the only places that I heard was New York, Boston, LA, Dallas, Atlanta, all the big cities. Hollywood, obviously. But you don't hear about St. Cloud or Minnesota as much. So only 3 months coming to St. Cloud, someone told me that there is a school in Minnesota called St. Cloud State that's offering institution to all the foreign students from day one. And that's not very common. If you are unaware of that, it's not very common. Usually the foreign students don't get institution as they're coming to the States. So this was a very big criteria for me. Financially, it was possible for me to come here and get an education. So my idea was that I'll get few courses done from St. Cloud, and then I'll take a transfer and go to a different university. But after completing my first semester, I was blown away by the quality of education, the love and the friendship that I have received from the community. And I decided to stay here. And oh, by the way, I also met my wife, and she was also going to St. Cloud State at that time, and we met there. And today we have 2 beautiful children, and so it all worked out. So it all worked out, and also about 11 years ago, I started a company called Field Nation. And the original idea and the inspiration also came from St. Cloud. Let's go back to 2008. About 11 years ago, as I mentioned, I started a company called Field Nation. At that time, we were in the middle of Great Recession. Lots of people were losing their jobs, including myself. I actually lost a job. Actually, I lost my only job that I ever had after graduation. And I was working for a St. Cloud company, probably a couple blocks from where you guys are located now. I was working there. That was my first job out of college. I lost my job and I had nothing else to do, so I started a company. But what was happening at that time, those of you who can remember 2008, what was happening is that companies were laying off people, but they still needed the work done, the projects that they were needed to, they set the goal to complete the projects, they still needed those projects done. And so rather than having fixed costs on the payroll, they were hiring on-demand workers, project workers, contractors, and consultants. On the other hand, what was happening is that those that are getting laid off, they needed to get some supplemental income going as they're looking for a full-time position. So they were welcoming this project-based work. And also another thing that was happening at that time and still going on right now is that millennials, unlike my uh, parents' generation, both of my parents had one job their entire life. Millennials are not like that. They pursue their passion. They're not too worried about this 8 to 5 job security. If they like something, if they want to do, pursue a skill set, a type of experience, they go for it. They pursue their passion. And and that was going on even before 2008. And what happened in 2008, because of this economic pressure combined with this millennial trend of pursuing project, this gig economy almost exploded. It's gig economy is not a new thing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it accelerated during the Great Recession. It's a formal term. Formal term is gig economy, but it basically means that businesses are looking for on-demand workers completing temporary and project-based work, and for workers, they will get short-term projects to either supplement their income or as their primary source of income. They go from project to project. There was a study done by Stanford a couple years ago, and what they found out is very interesting. What they found out is that the gig workers, they really, the number one thing that they value the most is the flexibility that comes with it. What that means is that if you're a gig worker, you can take a job whenever you want, almost whenever you want. I ride on Uber all the time, and I would ask the drivers, like, what's your day look like? And they'll say, look, I just, turn on my Uber app whenever I feel like to, get out and make some rides and earn some money. And when I'm tired, I turn it off. That's the flexibility, right? The gig workers really appreciate this flexibility of this work arrangement. What they are concerned the most is the insecurity that comes with it. But if you think about it, it's flexibility comes with the insecurity of, are you going to get the next project? Not only that, but also, what about my health care? What about my 401k? All the safety net, it kind of, disappears in some ways with that arrangement. At the same time, what the companies value is also the flexibility that comes with it. Meaning, they have a budget, they have a project that they want to get done, and they can hire someone. When the project is done, then they don't have to continue on with that fixed cost. So there's the cost savings, the flexibility, and also the ability to hire the expert for the project is also a very valuable thing for the companies. But what they worry about the most is the inconsistency and the quality. It's not the same if you have a full-time employee doing the same job months after months, right? So if you hire a project worker, there is a little bit of uncertainty about the quality and the consistency. That's what the companies are worried about. The enterprises are also worried about compliance issues. And you may have read in the news about the continuous lawsuit against Uber and Lyft, unemployment claim and workers' comp claim and all that kind of stuff. The enterprises are very concerned about that. But despite some of these challenges, gig economy or the freelance economy is is accelerating at a rapid pace. As you can see, this data is from World Economic Forum, and they're forecasting that by year 2027, in the US, there will be more freelancers than the non-freelancers. Think about that. Think about that for a moment. You know, I talk to my parents and they understand what I do, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But this kind of data blows their mind. They keep questioning about the security and the safety of the workers. Is it disappearing? But the fact is, these two generations have different way of managing risk, different way of thinking about risk. For my parents' generation, they thought getting a job, a full-time job, is security. But for this generation, they actually think that having one job may be too risky. What happens if that job goes away? I meet people all the time. They will say they have a full-time job and on the side, they do project work. I meet people all the time. They have a white-collar job during the weekdays, and the weekends, they'll drive Uber. I meet people all the time, even in my office. They're in a sales or marketing or whatever function may be, but music is their passion. So what they will do during the weekend, they'll go play in a restaurant as a music band, right? They want to pursue their passion. But that's normal for this generation. They tremendously enjoy the flexibility, pursuing their passion. And they think that this arrangement of having multiple gigs going on, in parallel, is actually a way of de-risking from having one job and what happens if that job goes away. Very interesting how these two generations think about the risk and the safety. But this gig economy is already big. Today, there's 60 million US workers part of gig economy. Either they're doing the gig work as full-time basis, or they will do it as part-time basis on the side, and contributing $1.4 trillion in the economy. So this is already big, and it's only getting bigger. One thing, as I mentioned before, is that gig economy hasn't started, 10 years ago. It's been, temporary work has been part of the economy for a very, very long period of time. It was done by temp staffing, agencies, consulting, various different ways. But in last decade or so, what happened is that there's a new type of platforms, online platforms, call it marketplaces. They're taking those offline engagement online. And here's how it works. If you think about the fundamental problem or the opportunity for this gig economy, is that on one side you have companies that are looking for qualified people, experts to get their project done. On the other side, you have the workers, the experts, and the talents. They're looking for the right opportunity to come to them. So it's a matching problem. And in the offline mode, the agency and the consulting and all that, that's very, very inefficient. And so what happened is that with the advent of technology and the cloud, this new marketplaces came about, and they're making this matching really, really efficient. And the generation one marketplaces were Craigslist and Angels List. Some of you are familiar with this kind of marketplaces. I call them generation one because all you could do with Craigslist and Angels List is you could just go and find work, or you can see the listing of the people or the services, but all the transaction was happening off the platform. But the other challenge the generation one marketplaces had, like Craigslist of the world, was that there was lack of trust. Because the transaction didn't go through the system, those marketplaces were unable to capture the ratings and the feedback and the quality report. There's lack of trust. People use Craigslist or Angels List. It was a necessary evil at some point, but there's big hesitation, big question mark about the quality that will come with those platforms. And so the sample that I'm showing on this PowerPoint in this slide, I call them generation two marketplaces. The difference here is that not only they match those who are looking for services and those who can provide services, but they took it to the next level. There is built-in trust and quality mechanism here. And the entire transaction, all the way from finding the contractors to all the way the payment processing and the ratings and the feedback loop, all happens through these platforms. So on your right, you have delivery services like DoorDash or Prime Now or Amazon Prime Now or Instacart. When you order something on Amazon Prime Now, there is an independent guy, a contractor, a freelancer who will go to Amazon warehouse and pick up the product and deliver to your door. You can also go to platforms like Thumbtack, and they will provide you plumbers or electricians. So if you need some handyman, you can go to Thumbtack and explain what you need, and then they will provide you a handyman. And then if you need home services, for example, time to time I used care.com to find babysitters for my kids. You go there and you explain your situation, and they will match you the babysitters or other type of caregivers, and you can see all their work history and the ratings and the feedback they have received, and you can get them. The response time is tremendous. And on the left, you have professional services like Hourly Nerd or UpCounsel. So I personally used Hourly Nerd, and Hourly Nerd is disintermediating the very high-end McKinsey and Blaines of the world. And you go there, you'll find MBA consultants, even ex-McKinsey consultant or Blaine consultants at a fraction of the cost from the Hourly Nerd. UpCounsel have lawyers and attorneys that you can get fraction of the cost compared to a law firm. So these are there's they also called human cloud or marketplaces. So the gig work that was happening off the platform are becoming now on platform through these marketplaces. So the gig economy matters. 60 million workers, $1.2 trillion contribution to the economy happening today. It's already big and it's getting bigger. So I started a company called Field Nation, as I explained, in the middle of the Great Recession. And what we do, we match businesses with on-site short-term contract workers. And I started that in 2008. And, the first few years was a lot of um, bootstrapping and building the product, building the marketplace, and all that kind of stuff. And we named a couple years in a row fastest growing company in the country. Today we are located in downtown Minneapolis. We have about 200 employees in the company, about 100 employees in the US and about 100 employees in Bangladesh. And what we do, as I mentioned, that we fundamentally run a marketplace. On one side of the marketplace, you have 1,000 companies looking for on-site workers. And on the other side of the marketplace, we have about 150,000 contractors located all over US and Canada. And I'll give you a simple example of what problem we solve. So let's say there is a company called NCR that provides point of sales machine to all Walmart retail stores. Well, NCR is a manufacturer, but they don't have full-time employees in every Walmart location. So companies like that will need on-demand workers to go and install point of sales, cabling, networking, anything within IT and telecom umbrella. As long as it's hardware, we do it. So this data is from 2018. Our 150,000 contractors completed over 1 million work orders through the platform. What is amazing to me is that when our customers create a work order with the scope of work, with the schedule and the location and how much they want to pay, our system brings back a qualified response, meaning someone who is available, interested, and qualified to do the job in less than 8 minutes. Think about this. Let's say in this hotel, in this ballroom, the projector is not working. You can go to Field Nation and create a work order, and in less than 8 minutes, very likely, I don't want to guarantee that, but I'm pretty sure that in less than 8 minutes, we will get a qualified technician saying, I can do this job, I can be there in less than a couple hours to fix your problem. And imagine this, there's millions of work going through the platform, and nobody knows. The contractors don't know the businesses don't know the contractors. Our platform is making that matching happen with all the billions of data points that we're collecting. And because of the sophistication of the matching, the quality, 99.5% of the time, there is no quality issues. And it's all happening through the platform. Nobody is talking to anybody. That's amazing. That blows my mind, every time. And what's happening on the cost saving side is that because these large corporations don't go through multiple layers of outsourcing to get to the local workers, these large enterprises save tremendous amount of money because of the margin. There is no margin stacking because you're going directly to the technician through our platform. And so because the companies are saving a lot of money, they're willing to pay more to the workers. So the workers are actually earning more than before. So both parties win. The workers are getting more money and the companies are getting more money as well. So there's tons of success stories, but what makes me really excited is the small businesses success story that I see all the time happening through our platform. This gentleman's name is Mike Brown. He used to be a technician on our platform, just a single individual technician. And then one day he thought, why not I also start a company and leverage the Field Nation marketplace and create a nationwide service organization? And so he did that. So today, his company called M. Brown Tech Services is a nationwide service, IT services organization leveraging FieldNation Marketplace. And that kind of stories are so deeply meaningful that keeps us going all the time. Very, very inspiring for me and for my team. So every time you're in a Starbucks or McDonald's or Walmart or Apple store or Best Buy store or Costco, very likely that our technicians, our marketplace has done some part of the infrastructure in that retail store. Every day we're in all these stores thousands of times, every single day. So let me sum it up. About 20 years ago, I got this email from someone saying, St. Cloud is offering institution. I scratched my head, found a map, and said, where is St. Cloud? And I found it. And I decided to come to St. Cloud because of pure financial reason. And I thought I'll take a transfer. And I came here, I stayed here, I graduated from here. I started a company called FieldNation. Today, this year, we'll provide over $250 million work to our community through the marketplace. We have over 200 full-time employees in our company between Minneapolis and Dhaka, Bangladesh. And we'll be hiring probably over 50 people in the US this year. However small my contribution may be, it all started here in St. Cloud. St. Cloud welcomed an 18-year-old foreign student. The taxpayer helped pay through my college. The community gave me love and friendship. And every time I'm back in St. Cloud, I come back with heart full of gratitude. Thank you. I'll take a few questions. If there's any question, I'll take a few questions.
The ball is the microphone, so you have to catch the ball. Who's asked the question?
How are you paid?
How FieldNation get paid?
Yes, that's the question.
Yeah. By the way, I was so much looking forward to tossing that ball. So great question. So how we get paid is that, if $100, if the company says I want to pay $100 for this job, that $100 we process the payment and we keep 10% as commission and pass $90 to the freelancers. So 10% commission is our take rate. And on top of that, we have some value-added services like we provide insurance, we provide financing service. We also have a software service that we are licensing out. So there's some ancillary products as well. But at a most fundamental level, when the money goes from one hand to the other, we take a commission from that.
Why did you name your company FieldNation? That doesn't sound like something that connects employers to employees.
Yeah. Look, there are two answers to it. Let me tell you the answer that I always give to customers and people who try to find meaning, like you are trying to find meaning in that name. And there is another answer that's actually more true than the first answer. So let me start with the meaning. So look, the work that we do is field work, field service work. And so that's where the field came from. And nation is we have 150,000 technicians and engineers in the field, and it's a community. So it's sort of a nation for us. And so you connect the two, field nation. So that's one answer. Okay? If you're trying to find a meaning, that's one answer. The other answer is that, look, back in 2008, when we were getting started, my company was web first company, like you have mobile first company. So for a web first company back in 2008, I just started to search domain names that I could find. And I ended up finding a domain name, fieldnation.com, that that was available. So we said, hey, the name is close enough because of the field service work we're going to do and the marketplace, the nation. And so I thought I can settle with that. So that's another explanation. So that finding the right domain name was important.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I have two questions, and we have many students here. And my first question is, how many econ classes do you take? And the second one, are you sad that you didn't take enough?
Well, first of all, yes, I am sad that I didn't take enough econ classes, but I did take macroeconomic class. I remember that was a summer class, and I really, really enjoyed it. I wish I could take a few more classes. You're right. I do look back and said I should have taken a few more economic classes.
Mynul, I'm Julie Condon. Did you take ESL classes with us when you started at St. Cloud State?
Yes.
I want to, it's not really a question, but I want to say I'm so proud to see where you have gone and how you said that the community gave me love. I hope that we were a part of that for you in ESL and in our orientation classes. And I like to say my specialty has unfortunately become helping people to make more money than me. And so you are one more wonderful example, I'm quite certain. And so I like to see that those things continue, and congratulations.
Julie, thank you so much. I can't see you, but your name sounds so familiar. I wonder if I took your classes or if I met you somewhere, but your name sounds so familiar to me.
Hello, Mynul. I'm Patty Gartland. I'm with the Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation. My question for you is, we're so proud of you and we're so delighted that you chose St. Cloud State University. What do we need to do in our community to improve the opportunity for folks like you to create your company and choose to grow it in St. Cloud and in our region rather than in the Twin Cities or somewhere else? What's missing here in St. Cloud?
It's a really good question, and I don't know if I have the answer to it, but I'll attempt. So St. Cloud is part of a bigger community, right? It's part of a big nation. So there's a lot of things that St. Cloud and Minnesota can do, but there's a bigger implication of the U.S. policies, right? So we gotta look at both, and from the St. Cloud standpoint, I'm involved with St. Cloud State Foundation Board, and involved with few other people, few other organizations in St. Cloud as well. We need to build an ecosystem where community thrived is where we have, ecosystem. Whether you look at Silicon Valley, there's great school system, great businesses. Those businesses are going back and funding the schools and the communities. There's VC, venture capital. The financing community is strong. So there's a lot of things we need to look at to make sure that we are creating a good ecosystem where not only St. Cloud State should play a very important role, but what's the role of the business leader in St. Cloud and Minnesota? What's the role the financing community playing? What's the role the community leaders are playing? It all needs to come together. I think, I think St. Cloud does a really good job, but I also, see that even some of the friends that I went to college with, a lot of them actually left St. Cloud, not only St. Cloud, but a lot of them left Minnesota, which is disappointing, and I give them a hard time every time I see them, that they should come back. But why did they leave? Why couldn't we keep them here, right? So I keep asking that question myself, but, and the only answer that I have is that we need to create an ecosystem. We all need to play our role to create this sustainable ecosystem.
Thank you. We're with you.
I saw your hand. That's a good idea. Good evening, Mynul. My name is Barry Kirchhoff, and I'm here with the team from the Small Business Development Center, which is part of St. Cloud State University. You have a fascinating business model. My question to you is, previously in my lifetime, I worked for a worldwide staffing agency with the traditional staffing model, and just in my head as you're presenting, I'm comparing that to what you're doing. It almost appears, do you consider yourself and the way you approach the temporary workforce or the gig economy as your company was really a market disruptor? In a good way, I'm saying that in a positive way?
Yeah, yes. Yes, in a positive way, we are disrupting the market. And we are not so much, we are not disrupting the temp staffing market. We carved out a niche in the market that we saw that was very underserved. If you look at the type of work Field Nation gig workers do, these are very, very short-term work, from few hours to a couple days. And staffing companies don't want to touch them because it takes, for a staffing company, it takes hours and days to find someone. And it's just not enough margin to make, in a short-term work. So we created this self-service, automated, fast platform where it doesn't require anybody to touch anything. It just, we bring back the request in matter of minutes, qualified request matter of minutes. But yes, it is, we consider ourselves a disruptor in the space in a good way, as you mentioned. And I think we're creating a lot of good job opportunities and helping companies to be more efficient, but also the workers are making more money. The workers are actually building businesses off of Field Nation, which is really, really exciting. What we're disrupting is probably the middlemen that are not adding as much value.
Barry says thank you.
Thank you.
It's really weird speaking into a ball, I have to tell you that. But my name is Bernie. I'm a small business owner here in St. Cloud, Batteries Plus Bulbs. And one of the things we pride ourselves is that we're a local ownership and the customer service we have. So how do you have that in your model when you have a customer problem or something you need to address when you are global and maybe need that personal touch? How does that fit into your model as the local customer touch?
Right. This is such a great question. I consider myself as someone who is obsessed over customer success and customer experience. And the way I view it and I explain to my team is that, yes, we have a technology platform. The goal is the technology to, automate and do everything as much as possible, because that cuts the cost and the time for both sides, gives the users time back in their hands and the money back in their hands. So it's good. But at the most fundamental level, we are a people company. We have 150,000 people in our platform, and we have 1,000 companies. But again, companies are nothing but people. People are using our platform. So whenever there is a problem, we need to be all over that. We need to listen to their problem. We need to be hands-on to solve their problems. And so for that, we created 24/7 customer success team and customer support team, 24/7. So if you remember, I showed in a chart that 99.5% of the time, the transaction between a business and the worker happens seamlessly. There is no interruption needed. But then 0.5% of the time, things go wrong. Maybe the engineer didn't do a good job. Maybe the company didn't explain what needs to be done. Whatever the case may be, we are all over that problem, because we know that our reputation will be measured by that 0.5% of the jobs that didn't go well. And we take it really, really seriously. Really good question.
Thank you.
You mentioned you have 200 salaried employees. How many departments do you have, and what percent of people in each one of those departments or buckets? Customer care, finance, so forth.
So we had 200 employees. I just want to make sure that I heard you clearly. So there's about 200 employees in the company. And there are a lot of departments, and I don't remember all the I'm not going to be able to give you the right answer, but it's probably, maybe 10, 12, or maybe 15. But the way it's divided is that you have customer-facing function, where you have, business development function, account management function, customer success function, and support function. And then you have, big technology department that has product management, user experience, data science, engineering function, architecture, quality assurance team, and stuff like that. And then there's this support function, kind of the G&A function, where you have finance and accounting and HR, recruitment, that sort of stuff. So if you ask me, how the resources are allocated, I would say probably 40% resource customer facing, 40% resource, product and technology, and then 10% kind of G&A, finance, accounting, HR.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Khan. My name is Jolene. I'm with the St. Cloud Downtown Council. My question is the opposite of Bernie's. I'm asking you about your global impact. One of the last slides you showed were some international corporate companies that you've partnered with. Can you give us any tips on how that went, and any new entrepreneurs that are looking to have a global impact?
Yeah, so my company is making global impact in a couple different ways. The most obvious one is that, we are hiring, we have 100 very high paid employees in our Bangladesh office. If you remember my first slide, that's where I'm originally from. We created 100 high paying employees in Bangladesh. I'm very proud of that. And we continue to hire there. We'll continue to hire in the US, and we're going to continue to hire in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh gives us a lot of cost savings. There is a cost advantage there, even though we pay them, in the local, relative term, we pay them really, really well and high paid salary, but it's still a huge cost savings for our company. Then the second obvious global impact is that all the U.S. companies, the Starbucks and McDonald's and Walmarts of the world, if they have operations in the Canada, very likely, our technicians, 5 or 8% of our revenue comes from Canada. So we help U.S. companies do their local work in Canada using the local workers from Canada. So we are making a good impact in Canada. Then the other thing, the third trend or the global impact that we're seeing is that a lot of European companies or Asian companies who doesn't have a service footprint in the US, we are giving them a very easy turnkey solution. So I'll give you an example. There's a company called Hammersbach from Germany. They're a very big European company, but they have zero, service presence in the U.S. up until they found Phil Nation, and now they're scaling their service with Phil Nation. So we are helping, European and Asian companies to help scale their services operation in the U.S. So there are a few different ways where we are making a global impact.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. My name is Hamza. I'm also an international student from Pakistan, a 19-year-old. I'm really motivated after hearing your story, actually success story. My question for you, first of all, is how did you cope up with the weather? Second of all, because no, I feel like I was deceived by telling that okay, Minnesota is cold, but I didn't know it was going to be this cold. But my real question to you is, after graduating, how difficult or how easy was it for you to open your own company in the United States and then integrate it with another office back in Bangladesh? Because that decision is very crucial. I mean, if you're going to go back to Pakistan or Bangladesh after graduation, or you're going to stay here. And then just second of all, what advice would you give to the 18-year-old you who came from Bangladesh to the United States at St. Cloud State? Thank you.
Great question. I'm not going to comment on weather because I didn't brave the weather and come to St. Cloud, so you can see that I'm still adjusting to the weather. But your question about starting for an 18-year-old or an immigrant to start a company and how challenging. And look, if you want to create a business here in the U.S. and have some part of operation in Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, you need to find really good people. It's really difficult, if you don't have the right people, in the right seat, especially if it's something remote where you are not present. You're not going to be able to be there all the time. It's really hard. So I got really lucky to get extraordinary people out of the gate who I completely trusted from day one. Those are the people who recruited, they really hired and fired and created the infrastructure in Bangladesh all by themselves with very little supervision or very little guidance from myself. So I got extraordinarily lucky. So my advice to you, make sure you focus on finding this one or two extraordinary people that you can rely on. So that's number one. The hard part is, to me, for immigrant, is the limitation comes with the immigration status. That is very, very difficult. There is a lot of things that you cannot do this, you cannot do that if you're not a citizen or a green card holder. So navigating that, I wish I didn't have to spend all that money on the lawyers. I wish I could have saved that money and spent more building my business. I think I spent more money on the lawyers helping me figure out my immigration stuff rather than spending building my business. So that's tough, but it can be done. Make sure that you're surrounded by good people who can give you the right advice, and you'll be okay.
Hi, my name is Ade, and I'm a graduate student of Applied Economics. And my question is, I saw on Crunchbase that you generate $175 million annually. That is Field Nation. So my question is, how easy was it generating the first $1 million? Then, how did you go about convincing these companies to, use Field Nation for their services? Then also, how many companies helped you make the first $1 million? Like, what percentage of that revenue was generated through the same one company, or if you had several companies making up that?
Yeah. So great question. So I think the heart of your question is that getting your first few work or $1 million. How hard was it? It was extraordinarily hard. I just showed you that we completed 1 million work order in one calendar year, and people ask me like how does it feel? I say it feels great, but what was amazing to me, the first 40 work orders that we have completed back in 2009, and that feeling, I still feel it in my heart, like that first 40 work orders we completed, that gave me so much joy because it gave me validation. It gave me hope that we can do it. There is a market out there. There is a need out there. We can do it. And that was amazing to me. It gave me so much hope. And I wrote, and I was so excited. I wrote a long email to my team that, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to make it. So things, it's the flywheel, right? And once it keeps going, it gains momentum. It gets easier and easier. And your other question, I believe, was, how many companies are kind of doing recurring business with us? Majority of our customers are recurring businesses. So if they spend $1 million last year, we can very certainly predict that they will spend another $1 million this year. So it's very predictable, model.
Oh. Hello, Mynul. Gary Anderson. Thank you, first of all, for a very informative presentation. It's very interesting, the gig industry and also your company. Thank you for being a St. Cloud alum and also your service on the foundation board. My question kind of piggybacks off the last question we just heard, and that is with these larger companies that utilize Field Nation service, how do you get past that initial order? Oftentimes companies go through a whole vendor approval process before they're going to utilize any service, and you had some prestigious names as customers, and I would imagine that they have some kind of vendor approval process that you may face, and I'm wondering how that all works.
Well, Gary, to tell you the whole entire story, you and I need to go to a bar and get a drink. Because
sure.
Our sales cycle is really, really long. And the reason it's very long, because precisely what you said, this procurement and vendor folks have all sorts of boxes that they want us to check off. And it's not always easy when the model itself is so different from all the other models that they're so used to. So the biggest struggle for us is that they will look at Field Nation and the way of it works, and they'll try to put us in a box that they're familiar with, or they have an agreement that they created 15 years ago, and say, sign this agreement. Well, the model doesn't make sense. So it's very, very challenging. It's a very long sales cycle, unfortunately, but the good news is that it's getting better. Gary, 10 years ago when we started, people would tell us that, hey, I'm not going to use your cloud-based system. I need your source code, and I have servers. I'm going to host it here. Nobody asks us that anymore. People are getting more comfortable with the cloud-based system. 5 years ago, even 5 years ago, people would say, oh, you are like Craigslist. Are all those 100,000 people, are they all unemployed? Do they not have any job? That's why they're part of your platform. Those questions don't come up anymore. People are getting more educated. As you saw, that people are riding on Uber, they're renting through Airbnb or HomeAway. The entire market is more aware of this kind of arrangement than ever before in the past. And so, if anything, in last couple of years, I heard people saying, oh, you're like Uber of field services. I will take that over you're like Craigslist. So things are getting better, but to your point, we face tremendous hurdle when we face enterprise customers.
All right, we have time for only one more question. One more question.
Yes, and I have the ball. Hi, Mynul. My name is Laura Karolevsky, and I also came to the United States in 2004, but I chose a different path. I went to grad school. And I have a question for you, especially since you mentioned that you started an office in Bangladesh. What are the differences in doing business between United States and Bangladesh? Because I imagine there are some challenges that in the United States people take for granted. I'd like to hear more about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to clarify. So we don't really have our product presence in Bangladesh. So we have about 100 people, probably 70 engineers and 30 support folks in Bangladesh, and they're doing our internal work. So the Field Nation is not operational in Bangladesh, and so I don't have much operating experience in terms of operating a platform like Field Nation in Bangladesh yet. But you're right. There's one of the reasons we didn't start in Bangladesh yet is because the infrastructure is still in a very early stage in Bangladesh compared to the U.S. because we provide infrastructure support. U.S. and North America is a great place because of the maturity of the infrastructure compared to the developing country like Bangladesh. But at some point in time, we would love to do something in Bangladesh. But I'm sure there will be a lot of different challenges there from the way the economy works over there, the labor force, the local laws, and all that kind of stuff. Everything is very different. Well, that was our last question, I believe. Thank you, everyone, very much. I really enjoyed our time together. I wish I was there in person. Hopefully, we'll have another opportunity to meet in person. So thank you all very much.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much to Mynul Khan for a great talk and for sharing his time with us. We're going to take a short break quickly. I just have a couple of announcements before we do so. One, there are Winter Institute themed t-shirts being sold over in the entrance area over there. You can purchase them with the registration desk. Also, there are snacks and a cash bar that are available as well. So if you want something to eat or drink, now would be the time to do so. And also, we'll be back in about 10 minutes, and James Bullard is here, so we'll get to hear from him next. Thanks, everyone.